The incredible story of Lerina García. Woman wakes up in a parallel universe. The concept of reality change. On July 16, 2008, a terrified woman named Lerina García Gordo published a commentary in an online forum asking for help. The Spaniard, 41, said she had awakened in a parallel universe. A world that is not like the one I had left before going to sleep. However, small inconsistencies in various aspects of her life began to convince her that she was, in fact, living in an alternative reality. The alternate reality of Lerina García. On the morning of July 16, Lerina awoke to discover that her sheets were of a different color. She was confused and disturbed by the fact that they were of a completely different set. It was not just the colors that were different. Not being able to find a rational explanation, Lerina decided to prepare to go to work. A job she had been employed for the last 20 years. Her car was in the same place where she had left it last night. She got in and drove off, following the same path she'd gotten used to since moving to her apartment 7 years ago. Apart from the sheets, everything else seemed normal for Lerina. That's until she came to her office. Inside the office building were a few strange people she had not met before, but she did not raise any suspicion. Lerina walked into her own office only to discover that there was a tag with a different name on the door of her office. It was not her name. Then she thought that maybe she was on the wrong floor of the building, but a quick observation revealed that she was on the right floor. She had gone to the correct office, it was just that her name had been replaced. Lerina was confused. She wondered if she had been fired and why nobody had told him. She took out her PC and connected it to the company's wireless network. There she discovered that she was still on the company list. However, she showed that she was under the command of a different manager, in a totally different department. Her head was in a spiral. She immediately checked her credit cards, driver's license, and work ID. They all reflected the right information as far as she knew. The same name, the same photo, the same numbers, and the same address. Not knowing what to think, she called her work and told them that she was taking a sick day. The inconsistencies that morning made her think that something was medically wrong with her. She took the rest of the day off and went directly to the doctor's office. There they tested him, looking for signs of any illicit drug in her system. The tests were negative. She had no alcohol or drugs in her system. Lerina returned home and began to look over her personal files. Bank statements, personal checks, bills, reviewed them twice. All showed the correct information. So a thought came to mind. What if this is amnesia? What if something happened to me and I cannot remember parts of my life? She immediately logged online and began exploring the internet. She saw that the news and the main reports were the same as the previous night, so there were days. As Lerina knew, she had woken up living a slightly different life. It had been 6 months since Lerina had left her boyfriend, with whom she had spent 7 years. She had recently started dating a man, Agustin, who lived in the street next door. They had been dating for only 4 months, yet she knew him well enough. When she called her new boyfriend's number, someone else answered. They told Lerina that there was no one by the name of Augustine, or that it coincided with her description of living in that house. The news surprised her since she had spent the last 4 months getting to know the guy. She had even met his son and had begun a relationship with him. But now, there was no sign of her boyfriend and his son. As she passed the day, she found more and more inconsistencies. She had no choice but to go to work the next day and pretend she was employed. Even so, Lerina called and called, but no one had heard of Augustine or his son. It was as if they never existed. That's when she found out she'd never left her ex-boyfriend. They had been together for 7 years and there was no sign they had been separated. Lerina did not know what to think. What had happened to the life she knew? What had happened to her career? All she thought was that maybe she had a nervous breakdown at some point. Severe enough to implant false memories in her head, or at least that's what she thought when she visited a psychiatric clinic. However, the tests concluded that she was of a healthy body and sound mind. The doctors told her that maybe she was under a lot of stress and that she could have freaked it out. An explanation she had thought of, but she knew it was not true. She started looking for her boyfriend, Augustine, but came back empty-handed. A hired investigator concluded that there was no sign of Augustine or his son in that city. Her own family thought Lerina was going crazy when she asked about the operation of her younger sister's shoulder. They looked at her in confusion as Lerina insisted that her sister had recently had surgery on her shoulder. A statement that no one in her family could support. As far as her family knew, no surgery had been done on any member of the family. Days, weeks, and months passed as Lerina began to discover small but bewildering differences in her life. The clothes in her drawers and closets she did not remember buying, blog entries she had made for weeks, even days before, were gone. Emails and chats were no longer archived on her computer. However, browsing the news sites and blogs, the world seemed to be the same. Just as she had remembered before going to bed that July night. As the months passed and she could not find answers, Lerina became convinced that she had simply gone to bed one night and awakened in a parallel universe. A world in which his life had been altered by small decisions of his past. What happened to Lerina García Gordo? Did she suffer from a medical condition that made her believe that she lived in an alternative world? Or did she really wake up in a different universe? Leave us your thoughts in the comment section.